I wanted to make a short video about the mindfulness-based supervision that I offer to mindfulness therapists and mindfulness teachers. So I am trained in MBCT and I've completed twice now the MBCT supervisors training. But I have to say the majority of the supervision that I offer in the mindfulness space is not for those who do MBCT or MBSR. There's lots of really great supervisors out there who can supervise in those models, to a level that's much more sophisticated than myself. But I think where I do offer value and I have a particular set of skills is for anybody who is offering mindfulness, who wants to innovate. And by innovate, I mean perhaps make adaptations to protocols in terms of what they're offering based on the environmental context of where they're offering the work, or the internal context of the minds and brains that they're working with. So that might be working with specialist populations, for example, those with ADHD, neurodiversity, neurodivergence, anybody that maybe has a brain and a mind that either thinks a little bit differently or has particular demands placed upon it. So some of the work that I've been doing has been with those who have neurodiversity, and particularly ADHD and adults with ADHD. And that really was my own journey through mindful movement and the use of mindful movement as a way to train those same brain networks so that we get the end result of mindful awareness, but we just come at it through a different route. And much of my approach is a brain-wise approach to mindfulness processes, because if we're able to unpack and unpick the different elements that go into making a mindful moment, then we have a lot more flexibility in our adaptations and our formulations of what we might offer to our clients. In the early days, and still some now, I've done a lot of work with creatives. So this is artists, performing artists, actors, actresses, musicians, singers, anybody that's working in the creative industries. And those creative monkey minds are quite unlike the scientific monkey minds. They love to go far, they love to go fast. Their default mode network is a wonder to behold. But actually they need something a little bit different in order to help them come into the type of quality of focused attention that we're interested in training in mindfulness. They have a lot of techniques for being present and for imagination and for observation. So we need to be really skillful with this group to get to the precise details of what it is that we're talking about when we're talking about focused attention practices and mindfulness. I've worked a lot with scientists, and they're an interesting bunch because they're very conceptual, very left-brained, and they love to learn about the neuroscience, but the trick is just to give enough in order to help them step into the right brain and to the more experiential aspects of things. And I did a really great project with a colleague of mine, Eva van Lindenthal, working with space astronauts. These were astronauts and scientists who were doing experiments in space, and they were doing an analog mission. So it's basically a space mission, but you're in a spaceship, but you're still on Earth. And we designed a very particular program called Space Dragons, which was to develop mindfulness and emotional intelligence and develop a psychologically safe culture in the space module. So again, we're using the principles of mindfulness, but we're really thinking through what's the context, what's the demands on this group, which kinds of brains are they, how can we design exercises that stay true to the spirit of mindfulness but will be accessible and possible for this group. I've also worked a lot with psychosis and bipolar, so some very particular adaptations for working with those groups, particularly in the clinical setting. And I've done lots and lots of work with peer supporters who, they've been the biggest inspiration to me really, because they find their own way to make it work for them. And our job is to listen. what's working for you? How are you doing this? What's, and then tweaking it. Yeah, we need that combination of the experts by experience and the experts by training. They need to be together. Yeah, just because you're an expert by experience doesn't make you an expert. I've seen that some of that go very badly wrong. Yeah, we need that combination of professional training and clinical experience with people that have got lived experience in a mutual relationship and reciprocity and exchange of ideas, to really be thoughtful about how peer-led initiatives may be delivered and shared within the services. So peers has always been a great group that I've loved to work with. And the final group is those who care for others. And that, I put myself in that group. The wounded healer is a tricky beast when it comes to developing self-care and compassion, and any mindfulness journey will ultimately take you to self-care and compassion practices. So working with medical students with high levels of perfectionism, designing courses, working with busy GPs and psychiatrists in training, different kinds of services throughout the NHS and the private sector, trying to find ways to offer mindfulness-based interventions to busy healthcare professionals that don't involve them sitting still for 45 minutes. A lot of them, I would say, if you've got 45 minutes to sit still, I strongly suggest that you just do something that you really love to do and give yourself a break, and maybe even just have a sleep. Yeah, have a rest and put your feet up and have a cup of tea and just do nothing. This is not the time for training mindfulness and training your brain. So there's some kind of radical suggestions there, thinking about what we're offering and how we're offering it. And the final group that I supervise is people who are doing one-to-one mindfulness work. So there's some particular challenges there in the one-to-one work. But I really love offering this because this is where we can get, to the limit of the practitioner, very creative in how we meet our clients. I have a particular approach when I'm working one-to-one with my clients, and this is what I then share with clinicians who are interested in doing mindfulness-based therapy one-to-one with their clients. There's one more area where I'm doing mindfulness innovation, and that's in the area of virtual reality. Anybody who knows me knows that I love to bring mindfulness to contexts where everybody says, you can't do mindfulness there. And then I just think, this is a challenge. This is a challenge. How can we bring elements of mindfulness into the most mindless of environments, like our world, for example? But the world of virtual reality is, many would say, quite disembodied and sensation rich, addicted to sensations in the virtual reality environment through the visual system, which is the most easily tricked system that we have. And so I really enjoy working with this paradox, working with entrepreneurs, working with startups who are using virtual reality to bring mindfulness-based tools and techniques, perhaps to environments where we're not able to get mindfulness teachers and mindfulness therapists, or to operate at scale. And as always, my approach is driven by, what does the brain need to do? What are the core principles of mindfulness? How can we do this thoughtfully? How can we formulate through our hypothesis-based process to best understand how we can do this without harm and for maximum benefit? So if any of that sounds interesting to you, or you fit into any of those categories, then do get in touch, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to work with you. Yeah, take care. Thanks for stopping by.